life living and making a living can sometimes wear us out, grind us down, and dull our senses. So for a keen mind and a sharp contributive edge that can make it all easier and better and more productive, let's take some time to sharpen our axe. Stay with us right now for Life Talk.
Hello, I'm Gina Fitt, and you've either surfed to or purposely selected Life Talk with Bern Moses. Welcome to another in our series of verbal essays brought to you in this television format. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. Bern, we've been talking about so many things over the past several weeks, and it came to mind that there are a lot of people out there who've called in or have listened to this show and have dropped us a line or two, have found that by taking some of these ideas and principles and using them in their lives, they become so much more productive. And it seemed to cross a wide spectrum of careers. But I've noticed a real interest, I think, from people who are in some area, sales or marketing, or have found that by using these techniques they could learn to market their service or themselves more effectively. And maybe we can take some of that and fold it down and condense it into a show that would help some other people.
Well, you're a lifesaver. As I was saying earlier, I was driving to the studio. I had no idea what we were going to cover tonight. No, the sheets are blank, you know. But it's rather interesting. My driver was commiserating about her hair, you know, that it had a hair day kind of a thing. And I asked her, I said, do you recall when you've gone to a beauty shop to get your hair done or whatever, that they really try to introduce you to new products and encourage you to use a certain thing that they've selected as being the best? And she said, no, perhaps one time. And this is a mature woman. I'm not going to say how old she is. And I know I'm near my 70, you know, that we're supposed to be allotted. And I can't remember a single incident in my whole life. And if I hadn't been getting my hair cut regularly, it'd be a lot longer than it is, probably down to my ankles. But never, not one time, has anyone ever asked me if I'd like to have a perm or a hair coloring or recommend the hairspray or the shampoo or conditioner. And I've wondered about that, and I've let it be. And I guess what connected with me is that some years ago in Dallas, Texas, I connected with someone in the industry who realized that this was not going on, and it was, certainly diminishing their profits. And so he said that there's something we can do and what have you. And the product sale there is so simple. You know, there's a lot of training going on. You know, there's not much to say, because frankly, if I was getting a shampoo and I went over to sit on the chair and my hair's still wet and what have you, if the operator would just hand me the shampoo, wouldn't have to say a word.
Just this is what I used. How does it feel?
Yeah, you wouldn't have to say that. You know, just hand me the shampoo. In all probability, I'd look at it and I'd turn it over, and I'd say, "Is this what you use?" And she'd say, "Yes." And I'd say, "Why?" You know what I mean? And she would explain it, and I, in all probability, would buy it, because if they choose it, they're professionals. I would expect them to have made a selection that was appropriate, or that their shop represented a product they knew was extraordinary. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I've got to go to the supermarket in the last minute. You know, when I run out of shampoo, I run over and I buy anything from A to Z, you know, that looks like it might wash my hair.
Special of the day kind of
Yeah, that's special, and that's not entirely fair. And so I thought perhaps this evening we could talk about that a little bit, and to include the professional, personal care people, for example, hairstylists and barbers, and we could call them haircutters, I suppose. There are manicurists. I think massage therapists, maybe they wouldn't want to be put in the same category, but I think they are, that they have goods and products that they could probably sell that would, simplify their task and edify it. In other words, actually continue some kind of treatment they might be giving. I do know that the medical profession and the dental people are good at it. You know, they don't have any reservation at all about making those recommendations, so what's the difference? See, why does one do it and not the other? I do know this, that we've had people dramatically impact their income just by handing product and just recommending it. There is a simple sales process that's so effective. And by the way, why are we talking about this? Because it serves everybody.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think anybody who's caring for people, working with people, should have some confidence in the product and services that they're rendering. Otherwise, I can't even imagine why they're doing it, you know. And therefore, know that people depend upon them for guidance. However, we do know that there's a need for contributive audacity. In other words, if you're contributive, that has to be coupled with a certain amount of courage, authority, audacity to inquire. You know, what are you using for shampoo? What are you using for your nails? What are you using, you know, as a cosmetic or whatever it happens to be? Have you heard about? Have you ever tried? I would recommend. And the sale is made or it's not. And they're just not doing it. And I think everyone is ill-served by that. And so I thought tonight we could probably just talk about that. Now, you say you've had a different experience to some degree, or?
Yeah, you asked me this question before the show began, and I found that every place I've gone, they've said, well, whatever you're using, it's really awful. You've got to try our product. This is so, yeah, and then you know they'll use 50 different kinds of things to style your hair after they've cut it. And, oh, you've got to use this and this one and this one, and they all do this and this and this, and and we have them all here on the shelf up front. You know, go ahead and buy. So
okay, now, why do you think your experience is different than the many, many people that I've talked to? And I understand why it might be. But what do you think the difference is?
Oh, I think that part of it may have to do with the training of the individuals, where they came from. Was marketing taught as part of their course? What kind of a salon environment do they work in? Are they just paid on the service that they perform, or are they also getting a percentage of sales for any products that they promote?
Also, are you going to the economy shops, or do you have a hairstylist that does a quality job and charges commensurately?
Well, I have to go someplace that does a quality job, because I tried for years to do it myself and know I would end up with a bag over my head in tears, calling someone at the last moment saying, you got to salvage this so I can be seen in public, you know, trying to save a few pennies here and there. And it's so I found that I actually end up saving a lot more money and grief to go to someplace and get a good job done in the first place.
And you don't object to them recommending, endorsing, subscribing products, because you have a choice of whether to buy them or not. And do you ever?
Sometimes I do, yes, but not always. But I enjoy and I always ask them why. Why should I use this? What does it do? How does it compare with this other brand? And I give them a run for their money, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I don't think any of us want to roll over and die, you know. We like to play the game, sure, and ask the questions and what have you. I guess what I'm saying is that if there is a personal care professional watching, or if you know someone who you'd like to enrich or enhance their career, maybe this is something that should be discussed, and that is that contributive audacity, which has to come from authority and esteem. See, the reason I was making a point earlier that a doctor or a dentist oftentimes has no difficulty recommending, encouraging, urging, you know, even insisting in some cases that certain things be done, tried, or used, is that it is their nature to be authoritative. And if they have taken command, it's part of their training, and they're probably pretty well committed to the result. You know what I'm saying? And once you get really contributive, that you really care about a result, that it be proper, then a lot of authority accompanies that, and so they're exercising it. My sense is that a lot of people go to haircutting school and almost get themselves into a job. You know, they just show up for work, cut the hair as it flows to them, and don't realize how much more they could enjoy and how much more income they could appreciate if they would begin to participate in what we're talking about. And that is to be really creative and contributive in showing and caring for products. One of the things that, in fact, I think is one of the causes, and I think we've discussed this before, why so many people steer clear of selling. And that is, there's an assortment of ideas out there, like they just don't want the rejection, or they don't want to be accused of selling. It's like a taboo or something. And yet without that, things do not really occur well.
Well, the funny thing is that sometimes we have our salesman hat on, and if we do it unconsciously, people are the best promoters of anything there is. How many movies do we go to because someone said, oh, you've got to go see this movie?
Exactly.
And how many movies do we avoid because someone else sold us on what a stupid movie it was? And it's the same with just about anything we do, we're constantly referring each other to products and services wholeheartedly, without reservation, praising the virtues of this or that service, or decrying how awful it is. And I think that has a lot to do with our own opinion and experience with that product or service.
Can you see, too, where if you have a personal care individual who is recommending services and products that might benefit you and your life, that you're more likely to go back to them because you establish a relationship? I know one thing that's quite apparent: when you have someone in your hands for 20, 30 minutes or an hour, they tend to commiserate. In other words, I think that probably most hairstylists and barbers and cutters and manicurists, et cetera, are pseudo-therapists. You know, they hear the problems in the tutorials and maybe they share some of their own.
We're certainly a captive audience.
Yeah, you've got them right there, you know. And I know that my sense is that if there are products and services they can recommend, that you give them credit for that and tend to return. It's a way of establishing a lot of rapport, and just too little of that goes on. I think one of the reasons that we have to address that, frankly, is that this diminishment of authority and esteem, and how and what might be done to recapture that. Here on the show, we've talked, for example, about the Life Formula, Command Commission, bottlenecks of bereavement, matters of confidence, these kinds of subjects, within which are tools that people all of a sudden begin to capture who they really are and can be, and can make a difference. And just very quickly tonight, if you can recall some of those, and I'll banter about some of them, that people need to investigate and, frankly, integrate into their profession. I know, for example, in Command Commission, one of the essays that we do, it's about recapturing authority through forgiveness. You know, like if anyone has ever said something or failed to say something that diminished us in any way, that there is a technology that we've developed where they can go back and correct that, and by correcting it, recapture some of that esteem and some of that authority that they can project onto other people. I don't know if you remember that or not, but have you ever used any of those techniques of forgiving and reperceiving rather than trying to forget?
Yes, I have, and I found that it is very effective. We're not going to forget things that have left a deep impression on us. We can ignore them and we can repress them, but they seem to kind of follow us around still. And we turn around suddenly and there they are staring us in the face. So we have to change the nature of what we see so that it's a comfort to us instead of a hindrance.
In Life Formula, we talked about fear and the behavior that creates. And that was how people will freeze up and flee the situation. I'm confident that a lot of these service people would like to do what we're talking about, but they get stuck. I mean, it's just stuck down in here somewhere. They just can't get it out for fear of what might happen, the fear of the reaction that they sense. And that's really, it's an anxiety, and that's an unidentified fear. And that in Life Formula, when we identify what fear is and how it can be managed, that could contribute a great deal to breaking through on some of that. And then in bottlenecks of bereavement was an issue where if we've had a loss or a recognized lack in our life, that could impact us being contributively audacious, like I say, to actually reach out and communicate with people. Also, we talk in terms in some of the essays about re-articulation. There's a listening skill where if a person is there in your company, you really listen and hear what they're saying to you and know how to respond effectively. That's enhancing their communication strengths. So this is all stuff that I think that if we could encourage these people to tune in the show and get some of the videos or come to some of the seminars, business could get dramatically better. I know some of the managers and owners must be pulling their hair out and say, why don't these people do this? We've had the product, we've shown them how to do it, and they don't do it. And it's that same old story, lack of preparation. In other words, in fact, some people have been de-prepared. Who do you think you are? Don't tease, don't do that. You know what I mean? Kind of hide out.
Don't ask me, you know I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
Don't pester.
A lot of times, I know I do it, and I have to resist doing it, is we tend to conclude what the other person is going to do or say. based on our
Oh,
perception.
they won't be interested.
Yeah, and how unfair that is, because if you go out oftentimes, I know we oftentimes talk about the parameters that we have and how we play so close to the center rather than stretching ourselves and enjoying the fun that can be too.
Well, I
and the
think
productivity.
when you're going to be audacious, as you put it, and kind of live out of the edge, we need to understand that when you're asking someone a question, they have to have the freedom to say yes. And in order to have the freedom to say yes, they also have to have the freedom to say no. And that either answer can be acceptable.
100% okay, sure.
Yeah, and it's not a yes or a no personally.
Aren't you a salesperson?
But, yes.
You do that professionally?
Yes, I do.
So you're right out there in the front line, and you're calling on professional buyers.
I'm calling on professional buyers.
Now, the professional buyers.
They
these
know
are
how
the-
to work you.
Yeah.
So you
They've
have to
been
be
trained on
toes.
how to buy and how not to buy.
Yes, and also how to use salespeople to their advantage
That's fascinating.
to help them accomplish their jobs more effectively.
Right.
And I can tell you, it's still scary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll never
and,
get old.
and sometimes we're afraid to ask the question because we'd rather not know than get a no. And all I can tell you is that wastes so much time and energy. You fret, you worry, you stall, and sometimes you miss a window of opportunity by not asking the question. And what you find is that, well, in my case, I have competition. If I'm not asking the question, they are.
Yeah.
Someone else will step up to the plate if I don't, and the opportunity will be gone. And I would like to suggest that that's the same thing happening in any other industry where we have a good or a service to promote. If you don't promote the shampoo that your salon provides, they're going to see an ad on television for the bounciest, softest, gentlest hair, and they're going to go down to Rayleigh's or some other grocery store and buy it. So you're going to miss your opportunity.
I think there's a special. I have bought products like that. I remember Sheldon Ripka. He was a fellow in Dallas, Texas, who frankly instigated some of this pattern or this thinking that I've developed. And I know he just jumped up and down on my chest to get me to try some products, and they were noticeably different. Now, whether that was a product of my imagination, a placebo effect or not, but there was a noticeable difference than what I'd been buying retail. You know what I mean? And I do think that some of those formulas have special treatment. In other words, they do put a lot of thought and care. I don't know that they're always, that more valuable. There are schools of thought that say they aren't, and other schools that say they are. But my experience was that there was a difference. There was a difference.
Well, I think you'll find with most people, especially in the personal care industry, they tend to experiment with some different products, and then they kind of seem to settle on the products of their choice, and there's a lot of repeat business. So I think once you've earned a customer or won their business over, the chances that they're going to continue with that are very high. I know, especially for women in cosmetics and perfume, that industry, they'll wait a week rather than go out and buy something that's not their brand in order to get the product that they want or think they have to have. It's the only one that will do. It's the only color that's going to work, and I'm going to have it, and I've got to have this formula. And so if we'll take the time to win the customer up front, the repeat business is pretty much guaranteed.
I think the thing, too, that a lot of these people have to be aware of is that they work for themselves no matter what the circumstance is. Because even if they're like an employee of the shop, they're still the front line, you know what I mean, as far as the customer is concerned. And there should be a constant effort to improve, to grow, to understand not only how to cut hair or to style it or to do a nail or whatever that is, but to know more about themselves, to know more about the people that are sitting in the chair, so that they can communicate at a different level and at every level. To read, to study, to think, to plan, to go to some of these seminars that accelerate these kinds of careers. Just because you can cut good hair doesn't mean you'll have a great business. Because, in fact, I'm sure the opposite may be true in some cases, where you have a mediocre skill with an excellent income because of the personality, the communication, the contribution that cutter makes.
A lot of that has to do with changing our thinking about what our job is, if you want to call it a job, or what are our priorities during that hour or 2 hours or half hour that we have with that person. And say, for example, a haircut could range anywhere from $8 to $100. Now, and your income is a portion of that, a percentage after overhead and all the other expenses are paid. What can you do to add on, to increase that hourly income without charging the customer more for the haircut? And that would be to add a promotion for a product that they can purchase. And
See,
how many peripheral products can you add? Maybe the first time you'll add a shampoo, then a conditioner, then a special deep treatment and a shine booster. And I mean, by the time they've come in 6 or 7 times, you can be selling them a whole grocery bag full of stuff. So.
Exactly. A lot of these people pay rent for their chair. You know what I mean? Actually, which really establishes their independence, and there is no question they could pay that rent with those extra sales. You know what I mean? And have a net for the actual services that they were rendering. And also, there's a lot of instances where arrangements could be made too with different, for example, I'm not going to name any, but there's learning places out here where if you recommended your client to go there, that you can enjoy a percentage. You can actually have an independent contract and expand your income across the city. You know, you have mailbox money coming in. See, a lot of them don't think about that they could go out and negotiate a percentage, 10, 20, and 30% of a seminar fee, of a comparable products and what have you, and actually get mailbox money. That's fun.
I think you just hit on the key word, and that is they don't think about it. Sometimes we have to expand our thinking and change our vision of who we are and what it is we want to accomplish. If we don't change how we think, we'll never change how we act. And so how do we do that? I mean, how do we break out of the thinking habits?
A lot of it is getting in the company of thinkers.
Yeah.
I think if you get in the company of thinkers, like-minded people, then you begin to pick these things up. I'll tell you what this is leading me to. I mean, this is all pretty extemporaneous. We haven't planned it. But I know that there's a considerable turnover in the industry. You'll find a cutter in this shop, and then they're over here, and then they're over here. And oftentimes when that's occurring, it's about management. Management who is not training and educating and providing a situation where these people can do this and enhance their income. And so it's like a double, triple, quadruple-edged sword. I mean, you've got the relationship with the cutter to the client, and with the cutter to the manager, and the manager to the client and cutter, and to one another, so that they keep up with what's going on. So there's a lot that we can contribute into that arena, and hopefully in the next few weeks and months we're going to be having some special events focused on this particular portion of the market. Because I know, frankly, I would like to sit down in a chair and just have them baby me to death. You know, to recommend this.
Oh, I think that's...
encourage that.
People these days are so busy and so stressed out and have so much responsibility and worry and struggle in their lives. And who do we have to pamper us? And this may be off the topic, but nowadays it seems like there's so many single parents and so many two-income families that you both come home, or you come home alone, exhausted at the end of the day. There's no one there to rub your back or your head or to baby you or pamper you, and these services are sorely needed and appreciated and valued. So I think there's just a lot of room here for people to develop businesses of serving other customers and developing their base. And I think the networking idea, you know, this is who I refer all my customers to for nails. This is who I refer all my customers to for massages, and work together, that you can all build businesses that way.
We have to get something that's affordable. The timing has to be just right for them and what have you. But I know that there's a lot that we can offer, and if some of these people would start tuning on the show, because I would say in the next week or two, we're probably going to start going back and redoing, if you would, a lot of the material, maybe in a different format. Maybe expanding it with a little more depth than we did the first time, because I know you keep just bugging me give me another illustration, and we'll be doing a lot of that too. This next week, by the way, I want to parenthetically here for a moment. Next week, I've been thinking a lot about interviewing you. In other words, who is Gina? Who is that blonde? Who is that girl that's on the show with you? And I don't think they know nearly enough about you. And I'm thinking that if you prepare yourself next week, perhaps next week, we'll talk about it.
Thanks, Vern, for announcing this live.
But we're gonna find out how old you are, how much you weigh, and this kind of thing.
All the unimportant things, right?
No, but I think it's time for the world to know who Gina Fit is, and because pretty soon I'm thinking that this will be the Gina Fit show anyway. At least what I hear out in the marketplace, no one ever asks me who I am. They always ask me who you are.
They already know who you are, Vern.
They already know who that guy is. We're going to be having a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, we're going to be sending out, we're going to invite people to come to breakfast. By the way, if you'd like to come to breakfast with us sometime, we have executive breakfast that we're starting up. And if any listener or viewer would like to call us, we may invite you to breakfast and give you a live sampling of what we do, and then possibly give you a ticket to some concerts that we're doing, because we want to promote this show. We want more and more people to watch it, understand what we're up to and why we do it, and involve them somehow, at least in a temporary way, in material that could expand and explode, enhance and enrich their whole life, and certainly their business. And if we can do that, then we've rendered a service.
Absolutely, and I'd also like to mention that I get requests weekly from people who have watched the show, who love the material, and they want to come and watch a show, a taping in the audience.
Really?
And those are also, you know, if people want to call or write in, we have tickets available to come to tapings. So
we have a guest tonight, and I'd like to have 6 or 8, or we can probably accommodate, 30 if we had to, in the audience, and so that'd be fun. I think there would be an aliveness in the studio if we had an audience out here.
Absolutely.
And they could chuckle or laugh or boo or cheer, whatever they wanted to do. They prepare yourself for next week. If you know anybody in the industry that we've been addressing this evening, get their name in a card and I'll send them a present, because we really do care. Not only for them, let's be honest, not only for them, but for their clients, because we're one of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're one of them.
Absolutely.
And if we can get some of this done, everybody's going to be happier. Next week we'll interview you, and I know we can stretch a half hour out of your life and experiences. Very interesting young woman, and incredibly reliable. Punctual? Oh, geez, you wouldn't believe how punctual she is. Anyway, I'm getting in trouble. Gina, we've been on now for, 70 some odd shows, and it's
getting to be a habit, Vern.
Yeah, we're very close to a 2-year anniversary, and people are just beginning to understand that we call this show Life Talk, and it's about life and living and making a living. And you're Gina Fitt, and I'm
Vern Moses.
Vern Moses. Thank you, Gina. I had a good time.